And I'm with Align Corporation. Today we're going to be looking at the Trex 500 EFL Pro, putting one together so that way you can kind of see the various segments of building it, whether it be the rotor head, the tail boom, gearbox, the canopy, and the tail assembly. So we'll open up the box together here and take a look inside and see what how it's packaged and go over that. But before we get started with the build, I'd like to go over a few things that you're probably going to need for this helicopter and in the build process. If you are going to be flying this, you're probably going to want to get some battery packs. If you do have 2200, the size you'll need is anywhere from 2600 up to 33. The ones I have here are the 3300s from Align. They're 40C packs, and they also have the JST connection. So make sure you get some packs, get some fresh ones, get the full performance out of your machine. So that's that. As far as tools that are required for the assembly process, you're going to want to have your, basically 1.5 on up to 3 mil here. So Align makes a number of tools that you can get. Here's a set here. We also have a set of balling pliers by Align that you can use for the build process, for holding the linkage rods when you're assembling them, and also for popping them on and off the Swash and various control surfaces. Again, there's another tool. It's a universal, so if you want to pack light, when you're going to the field, this is a great tool. Comes with the 1.5 to 3 there, and also gives you the Phillips driver, and it's a simple, convenient tool to take with you. Pop it in and out like that, and that works great. Another thing you're going to need for the build process is probably a set of needle nose pliers. I have both a thick and a thin. X-Acto blade, got shears with me. Also have a set of hemostats, just in case there's some wires that we have to get through or anything like that. It's not really needed, but I just have it, especially if you have big fingers and trying to get through things. I know I do, so I like to have those just to help me out sometimes. Also, a pitch gauge. This one's from Align here. This is good from 300 on up to 700 size helicopter. So this is something that you may want to add to your collection of tools that you take with you to the field, and or just have it in your tool assortment. Measuring devices, got a pair of calipers and a ruler here. So you'll want that for measuring your linkages. And as far as glues, I do have CA and I have some epoxy, things like that for the canopy process. But let's go ahead and get started here. I'm going to pop this box open. We're going to review the contents. Let me move some of the tools aside here so they're out of the way and you can see it easier. Put these right here. It's always good to have a nice clean working area available to yourself for when you're building a new helicopter. Make sure you have either a towel or a nice bright surface, so if a screw does drop or something like that, you're able to see it very easily. It just makes the building process a lot more pleasurable when you're doing this. And depending on the time it takes to build, a given helicopter, if you can leave it aside so that way you can take a break if you need to, you can walk away from the project and basically have everything in order when you come back to it. So let me pop it open. We'll take a look at what's inside the box here and see what's going on here. Nice colorful box. And you'll notice inside the box everything's very compartmentalized. Got the new 3GX system here. Go ahead and pull this out. 3GX. If you're new to helicopters, this is the flybar system by Align. It works as a gyro system for the flybarless and also your tail, but also enables the use of Spectrum satellite receivers, and you can hook it up and basically it'll pass through and interpret the code, so it can be used as a receiver if you're using Spectrum. If you are using a Futaba S-Bus system or any other type of radio system, you want to make sure you have at least 7 channels when utilizing this to get the full benefits. So make sure that you have that. And let's pull the rest of this stuff out here. So that way we can kind of divide up the build process. Big main box there, electrical component box. Main blades will be like boom and things like that. And then what I'll do is I'll just put this aside for now. And so let's take a look at the main frame set here. Pop this open, and you'll notice inside here it's got a number of packages. And what we'll do is we'll break this down into a sequence or process like I was mentioning. Pull the canopy out. We'll take a look at that. And we'll get all our parts and nuts and bolts here. Check a look at everything here. Frame set, tail box, and a great thing you'll notice with all of the Align kits is much of the assembly process has been done, but it's just that it's been assembled in order to ensure that the parts are in the package, but you do want to go back through and Loctite all your bolts in all your critical areas, whether it be swash plate, the tail. Make sure that there is grease and so forth in the thrust bearings and things like that. So make sure you do that. I mean, it is assembled, like the head's assembled, but we're going to go ahead and pull apart the spindle, lube everything up, and you'll notice that inside the box that is included here, you know, it gives you the Velcro, gives you the blade support, but it also gives you, you know, Loctite. So you got blue and green here. You also have some grease for your bearings, your thrust bearings. So that's great how it has Velcro, things like that, the odds and ends that you need to get your helicopter going. Also is a manual here, which I will peruse this. And if you're just getting started, make sure you look at this. I know there's a lot of experienced guys out there that kind of like to just chunk it up and go by the, you know, the various illustrations that are here. But there are some tips and helpful diagrams here to help you in the build process. So again, make sure that when you do get your kit, that you go through the manual, read through it, understand, you know, the processes, and then when you get your kit, kind of like look at the manual and break it down in that way. So it has a pretty intuitive guide on how to build the helicopter. Again, if you are an advanced modeler, you'll have your own technique or way, but it is a good thing to look at even if you are experienced, just to get an idea of how the assembly process takes place. It also does show a number of items that you may need for the kit and the contents that are included with the kit. So, you know, things like motor, speed control, servos, the 3GX, carbon 3G rotor blades, carbon tail blades, you know, your landing gear, so on and so forth. It tells you all the equipment that you're going to need. Grease, Loctite, CA, and those types of things. So those are things that you need. And as far as tools, just like I showed you here, they have many. They have some diagonal cutting pliers, so you might want those. Needle nose. So that's something that I didn't show right here, but actually you can use, which makes it easier when you're doing your wiring and zip ties. Radio system, we'll show that later. Oil, scissors, those things. So just the general tools, and then it has some guidelines as far as where to fly your helicopter, and if you are not currently an AMA member, how and where you can register for that. So that's another thing that you definitely want to have when flying helicopters. So let's look at the canopy here. We'll take a look inside here at the nicely painted canopy. Pull this off. And you'll see it's beautifully painted. If you were to paint this yourself, the time and effort to do a paint scheme like this is pretty intense. So that's another great thing about the Align canopies. It's all pre-done, pre-painted. It's got all the decals applied for you. So pretty much the process here will be to glue on the inserts, whether you use CA or epoxy, and then put in the grommets. So that's what we're going to be doing here. Alright, so we'll set that aside for the moment here, and then let's look at just a couple of the other things, and then we'll set it up so you can see everything laid out, get you some close-ups, and then we'll start the build process. Electronic devices, nice convenient box. You have your motor in here. Go ahead and unwrap this. This is a new MX motor. This is a 1600 kV motor. Nice cog to that. We also have the Align 70, the BL70G. You'll notice that the ends to the motor are pre-soldered for you, so you don't have to do that. But that's already done. But you do have to solder on the ends here. So whether you're using let's say it's a Dean's or bullet type connector, you can select which type of connection you're going to be using, because your batteries are most likely either set up that way or going to be set up a certain way. Servos, we have 3 510 Metal Gear servos, digital, high speed, and then also the Align DS520 for the tail. They're all packaged individually, as you see here. You got 3 for the cyclics and collective there, and then one for the tail again. Okay, so that's electronics. That's what's in the box there. We'll pop the 3G just so you can see this box. Let me pop this open for you. Give you an idea of what's included in the box here with the 3GX. 3GX, you have the actual unit itself, nicely boxed here inside the foam. Then you have the USB connector, which you'll be using if you choose to use the software that is supplied. Comes with a couple of pads in the box, some decals. Also comes with a CD with all the software. So if you want to do any updates or you want to change the profile, this is what you'd be using. So you have this, and then you use the standard USB cable to plug it into your computer. Okay, so that's what goes on there. Okay, so that's the 3GX there. It also has some cables, a jumper wire, and what I call pass-through cable. And basically what that is so you can hardwire directly into the receiver. And I'll go over that process later on during the build when we're doing setup. But for now, that's what is included with the 3GX. So we'll put this aside. And the last box that we haven't really looked at just yet, but the last part of the equation here is you got your boom support, your tail rod clamp, that's in there. Also, you'll notice a thing, it looks like just a straight rod. That's your fly bar rod. It's not a fly bar in the sense of paddles, but it is a rod in order to measure the pitch of your blades. So that's something that you'll utilize when you're setting up pitch, again, when you're setting up your helicopter. The other thing, the last thing that we have here is the 3G blades. These are great blades, using them on 700s, 600s. Today we're using them on the 500 here, the EFL Pro. And again, these are 3G blades. Put this aside here so you can see that. And pull this out so you can see those. Really nice, really stiff, rigid blades. So these are great, again, for the flybarless rotor system there. Pull these out. And we'll get started here. So let me set this up. I'm going to read through the manual, actually. I'll take a moment, look at the manual like I suggest, and we'll get started and we'll break it down into various components. And hope you enjoy the build. If there's any questions or anything like that, always feel free to email us at Align. You can check out the website, www.align.com.tw, or you can email me directly at jeff@alignrcusa.com. And look forward to talking with many of you. Take care, and let's get started. Hi, this is Jeff Fassbinder again, and we're getting started with the build process here. We're going to open up 500 FLZ, and that's the bag that contains, like I mentioned previously, a lot of the essential things you'll need, like Loctite and grease. So we're going to go ahead and slide this open, pull this stuff out here so that way we have it. And I'll go ahead and unpack some of this other stuff here. Won't be needed right this second, but go ahead and get the parts out. Velcro, plate holder, and some grommets there for the canopy. So we'll go ahead and get those out of the bag so we have less bags to deal with here. Alright, so we'll put that aside. And then inside of here, you'll notice, again, Loctite and grease. Go ahead and pull this out. There's a small Allen wrench in there. Let's go ahead and pull this out. And we'll set that up here. And pinion, some linkages. We also have some balls and some zip ties. We'll go ahead and put that aside. There. Put that there. And let's get started on the head here. Just in case on your Loctite here, if you happen to run out or anything like that, you can always get more. We do have those available. And good thing to utilize, you can use your 3GX box, but you can flip those over so that way the CA is ready when you are for assembly. Let's pop open the head. Okay, this is a 500 FLH. And let's check this out. Inside this bag, again, everything has been pre-assembled for you to ensure that all the parts are there. But you will notice that there's a pretty good amount of movement right here. And that's so you know that you need to assemble this head. Again, the parts are there for you, but you will need to assemble it. Your swash, the balls are all on there, but they are loose, so you will need to Loctite those. So we'll do that. Here's the main shaft, and here's some bolts, some screws, some washers, and the pitch gauge. Alright, and we'll notice that inside the boom segment there's a rod in there that you stick through here, kind of like a fly bar, and we'll utilize that to pitch the helicopter at a later point in the build process. So just want to let you know that is an item that you'll need that's used as a pitch gauge on top of your rotor system. Alright, let's get started. Let's go ahead and pull this head apart with that. As you'll notice, the head is largely pre-configured for you, but what you want to do is make sure that all the nuts and bolts have Loctite and are secure. So why don't we get started and do that. There is a bag or accessory bag that comes with all the Velcro and Loctite, and there's an assortment of screws that come in that bag. You notice there's some washers here. These washers are not for your thrust bearings. These are actually shims for the main shaft. So just want to make sure you're aware of that. The washer spacer is already in there in the head, and so you won't need to do that. We'll put our balls on our grip here. And let's get that on there. It's a little Loctite. Okay. And get that on there. Okay. So we got our balls on there, and now let's get our grip. Most of the bolts are really loose, so they're not tightened all the way down. You want to get that thrust bearing out so we can lube it up. There may be a little bit of lube in there already from the factory, but go ahead and make sure that you have an ample amount of grease in there in the balls there, and that'll ensure you get a smooth operating head. Also, almost forgot Loctite there. Put a little dab of Loctite right on your screw there. Just a little dab. There you go. And then we'll insert this. Get that started. And we'll check out this side here. This side has a slight amount of Loctite. Okay, so we'll back this out. Alright, no problem. We'll just go ahead and stick this in here. We'll back this out. What we'll wind up having to do is just pull the spindle out. So, 4 more seconds. pull that out, push this through, and we can simply just grab this right here without taking the whole assembly apart. Taking that off. And we'll get the thrust bearing out and everything right now. Okay, get this side back on here. Okay, and let's take a look at this one here. Okay, so it has, again, a little bit of grease, but we'll go ahead and lube that up. Okay, take a look inside there, make sure everything's looking good. Okay, get a little Loctite again on the head. Okay, I'll go ahead and slide this in. Get this on here, get this started. So make sure that's nice and free. Okay, those are Loctited. And you're going to want to check right here, the actual grip post here. Again, if you happen to find that there is some Loctite on any of the parts, simply go ahead and reapply when necessary. So we'll just pull this out, put a little Loctite on here, and put this back in. Put that out. To the other side. And you want to make sure that, it's really snug. This is your main grip component here, so it's always best to double check just in case. You never know. Want to make sure you got Loctite on there. Alright. Okay, that's the head assembly there. The two screws here is for your rotor head. We can go ahead and put those on so they're out of the way. We don't need to tighten that any longer, so we'll just get those started. Put these here. And get this going here. Alright. Next we'll work on the swash plate. But before we get too far, here's another area we need to take a look at here. Alright, so right here what we want to do is we want to Loctite these, the washout arms. Okay, so let's take off one at a time here. And you want to check these. Just make sure they're tight. If they're loose, guess what? We need to Loctite those. So let's go ahead and do one at a time. And then go ahead and insert that. And you know, if when you're building, you know, you want to make sure you have an area where if you need to, you know, leave the workspace, or you just want to work on it a little bit each night in the work week, you got a place where you can set it up and maybe leave it out for a few days. So, and that's that takes care of that. Let's put some Loctite here. And we'll take that down just a bit. And we'll tighten this up. Okay. Snug. Let's do the other side. Okay. Okay, so that completes this part here. Alright, so we have the complete rotor head. Main shaft's going to go here, but we got to get that swash plate going. So let's get the swash plate working here. Everything's free, moving free. Everything's snug. Pull this out like that. Okay, so everything's working there. Put that aside, and let's get the swash plate here. All right, let's get our tool here, and one by one. Take your time. Again, just a dab. That'll do you there. That swash plate. Side. Okay, so that's the swash plate. So that'll look something like this. And that slides on here. Get that going. And we'll get this all buttoned up right now. This, just like this. Okay, so that's the swash plate. And the next part we'll start working on is the frame set. So we'll get that going. We'll put the remainder, the shims, that bolt there, and we'll get started with that. So let's take a break right here. Okay, continue with the rotor head. You'll notice there's a bag of links, and what you're going to want to do is look at the manual, and you'll find that there's a couple linkages that you're going to need to assemble to link up the swash plate to the main rotor grip. So let's go ahead and build these. Alright. And the rods that we're looking for right now happen to be 50 millimeters from end to end. So we'll take a look at that. Make sure that's what we have. 50. Alright, so there's our two 50s there. And we'll go ahead and assemble them. From center to center, you want to be at approximately 65 millimeters. So we'll go ahead and get these started here. And get a caliper going here. We'll measure out 65. And actually, we can use our pitch gauge right here and measure out 65 right here. Alright. And that's where we want to be from center to center or end to end on the ball here. So we'll go ahead and get these started. And then you just check. Okay, we got a little ways to go. Screw those in. There. And also, if you want to look at another area to measure, would be the gap between the two here. You can go by the inner gap, and the gap between ball link and that inner gap is 35 millimeters for initial setup. Okay, it gets a little tough when you get towards the inside here. Get your ball link pliers, bear down on that. Okay, and let's make sure we don't go too far. And pretty close, about a millimeter more to go here. We'll give it another turn there. Make sure the A is facing outside on the ball. Let's take a look at that. And there you go, that's 35, and then we'll check center to center, which is 65 millimeters approximately for your initial setup. And let's get a matching pair there. Basically, there's about 2 to 3 threads on that 50 millimeter rod. So again, I'll grab my ball link plier here and get this going. When you are building, it is good to get the ball links out of the way, because towards the end, like most guys, we get a little, excited and want to rush it, get it done. So I think it's a great idea to get the ball links done at the get-go, right at the beginning. That way, we get the most accurate results there. You know, if you're rushing at the end, you know, after you've been building for a few hours, you know, you might tend to not be as critical. But yeah, we got 35 and 35 on these balls here. So those go from the swash on up to the grips. So I'm going to go ahead and pop those. And it will require like basically a half turn. Again, 8 on the outside. I'll pop that on the swash. And then on the head here like this, on the grip. And then we'll do the other side, same thing. Do a half turn and half. And let's do this. Let's see, let me pick this up here so you can see that. Pop that on. And then snap that here. Okay. We'll attach this washout arm here to this wash. Pop that on. And then pop this on here. Okay. We'll go ahead and utilize the bolt and screw that's provided right now. Line that up on the main shaft. Just line that up. Okay. Drops right in there. There's a recess for the nut in the back of the rotor hub there. Let's go ahead and get the tool we need here. Let's see. It does have a nylon insert. You can utilize a dab of Loctite if you wish, but there is a nylon ring there to bite onto the screw. So that's it. Snug that up, and there's your rotor head there. So that's set up, and now the next process will be the frame set. So we'll get started on that. Again, those shims, these big or very thin washers actually, are for being used on your main shaft here, and that's to get rid of any end play up and down between the main bearing and when you bolt on your main gear on the auto rotation unit. So that's what those are for. They're shims for that. So just keep that in mind. I'm going to go ahead and put both of them right here, right now, so that way I can just put them off to the side. So put those there. And put that right there. And then we have 3 links here. These are directly from your swash plate to your servos. I'm just basically going to put the ball links on right now. I'm not putting a size, and what we'll do is we'll make sure that we consult the manual and find out where they actually are supposed to be as far as size and measurement. We'll do that right now, but let's get these mounted up. So less loose parts laying around, and makes the assembly process, again, much quicker.